What's up, you guys? Welcome or welcome back to my channel. So for this video, we are here to once again discuss the X-Men.
To me, my X-Men.
To me, my X-Men!
To me, my X-Men.
To me, my X-Men.
So let me briefly explain to you guys how I came up with the idea for this video. So I was reading X-Men comics, this one right here, written by the one, the only, the legendary, the iconic, the godfather of X-Men storytelling, Chris Claremont, and illustrated by Jim Lee. Let me just say this. Jim Lee is one of my favorite comic illustrators. Him and Mark Silvestri. I love the way they design the X-Men characters because they absolutely kill it. And listen, go cop this omnibus because the X-Men, they look so amazing in these panels. You're going to fall in love with the storytelling. These comics is what X-Men the animated series and X-Men 97 is based off of. Jim Lee and his extraordinary design. Shout out to Jim Lee. Anyway, I was reading these comics and there were a couple of scenes of Scott Summers flirting with Psylocke. Mind you, Jean was a part of the X-Men as well. You know, so we had Jean, we had Scott, we had Psylocke, we had Rogue, Gambit, Wolverine, Storm, you know, the whole shebang. But yeah, there were a lot of moments of Scott having a thing for Psylocke. It got so bad to the point where Jean Grey had to approach Psylocke and was like, "Girl, are you flirting with my husband? Like, what's going on?" And they had a whole little tiff about that. And I was just sitting here thinking like, Scott, what is up with you and telepathic? He loves getting with girls that have telepathy. What is up with that? Scott Summers has a psychic kink. He really does. So first it was Jean Grey. That was like his childhood crush. Then it was Madeline Pryor, but Madeline Pryor was created to be a clone of Jean Grey because of Mr. Sinister, who is a creep. He created Madeline because the whole goal was for Madeline to have sex with Scott Summers so they can produce a child, and he would kidnap that child and manipulate the genes because the Summers DNA is so powerful in terms of genetics. And saying that out loud, it just makes me, it just puts a bad taste in my mouth concerning Mr. Sinister, because it's like, nigga, why, who thinks of like that? Like, why? There's multiple other ways for you to utilize your power to be a villain and take over the world, but you just have to resort to the most creepiest bull. Like, what on earth? Mr. Sinister gets on my goddamn nerves. I love the Marauders, but I cannot stand Mr. Sinister. Let me leave it like that. Now, the next person is, as I said previously, Psylocke. Now, nothing crazy happened with them. They did exchange a kiss. There were multiple instances of Scott being heavily flirtatious around Psylocke. He was lost for words. He kept stuttering. He kept admiring her body. I mean, look. Psylocke is a bad bitch. I'm not even gonna hold you. Bruh, look at this image right here. Oh my God, if any X-Men member was to run across this woman right here, they would bust a immediately. Like, god damn.
I'm about to bust.
Psylocke is a bad bitch. Jean, I can understand why you were so insecure about Psylocke because, whoa.
Slow down, baby.
Even though Psylocke was a flirtatious situation with Scott, the last major relationship girlfriend that he had was Emma Frost. And again, it's like, Scott, what is with you and these telepaths? Damn, boy. Now, the topic of Scott Summers as to why he is always dating women that are telepaths, this was trending on Reddit. And one of the Reddit users said this, which I so happen to agree with. Scott has a very organized and analytical mind compared to the chaos of other people's inner thoughts. Scott is a serene oasis, likely makes it easier for telepaths to spend long periods of time around him. I so agree would that take? Scott Summers is the best X-Men leader of all time. He's number one. Like, nobody can lead the X-Men like Scott Summers. And he is organized. He is structured. His thoughts and his behavior is a reflection of his personality. And that is why so many telepathic women, in my opinion, are attracted to him. All right, now here's what we're going to do for this video. So I'm going to go through a list of 7 women that have served on the X-Men, and I'm going to pair them up with Scott Summers. These 7 women are not telepaths. They have no type of telepathic powers. So I am going to say if this pairing, this relationship, if it's going to work or it's not going to work. Because here's the thing. Jean Grey died in Grant Morrison's run of the X-Men in 2001. She did not return to the comics until X-Men Red, and that was released in December of 2018. So for 17 years, Jean Grey did not appear in any X-Men comics. During that time, he was in a full-blown relationship with Emma Frost.
Hey, yo!
Now, I love Emma Frost. I love their relationship. I'm going to do a whole separate video talking about their relationship because I'm a big Emma and Scott fan. But I feel like they did Scott Summers a disservice. They should not have Scott jump into a full-fledged relationship with Emma Frost until he got his feet wet in terms of dating. Scott Summers should have been out here in these streets talking to any woman that finds him attractive and them. Let's explore possible relationships that Scott Summers could have been in if he would have been dating besides getting into a full-blown relationship with Emma Frost. But before we do that, I know that was a long-ass intro, but y'all know I got to play my iconic theme song. I'll see you on the other side. First up is Rogue. All right, I have my own personal bias because I love Gambit and Rogue. That's like my number one favorite superhero couple in any superhero verse, whether it's Marvel or DC. So I can't imagine Rogue with another man, and I can't imagine Gambit with another woman. I'm sorry, that's just my own personal bias.
I got you, Jam! I got you, Jam! 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 Jam!
The move!
But even if I wasn't biased, I don't see Rogue and Scott being a couple like that. And I know some people are gonna be like, well, you know, it happened in X-Men Evolution. It didn't really happen in X-Men Evolution. That version of Rogue, she was attracted to Scott Summers, which is, again, it just, ew, it feels weird. But she was actually attracted to Scott Summers, and she was jealous of Jean Grey because she wanted to get with Scott.
I cannot tell what is like me.
An angel is like you, Kate. And you are like an angel.
The girls are right. You are a charmer.
But in terms of the comics, listen, Rogue is a bad bitch. You know, Rogue is fine.
Yes, the camera loves your nastiness.
But I really just cannot see Scott getting with Rogue. What do y'all think? Do y'all think that Scott and Rogue would make a cute couple? I don't really see it. And if they was to do a relationship like that, that would kind of be like an opposite attract situation. Like Rogue is an outgoing, fun personality, and Scott Summers is so strict and structured and military oriented. So Rogue would bring the fun to Scott's life. That would be a very interesting mix in terms of chemistry. But them being together, I don't see it. I don't see it. What y'all think about Scott and Rogue? For me, it's a no.
Come on, pretty boy. Make a girl feel welcome. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Yeah, well,
Next up is Storm. Okay. I don't know. I personally see Scott and Storm as brother and sister. I don't see them having a relationship. Ew, that's like incest. Like, I can't see it. Like, not gonna work. And then on top of that, like, Jean is Storm's sister. You know, they have a tight-knit sisterhood bond. Now, I don't think that Storm would betray her girl code, her sisterhood with Jean Grey by sleeping with Scott Summers. What are we doing here? Like, absolutely not. Now, listen, I'm not saying that Storm has a certain image in terms of the men that she gets with. She has a standard that she's approved of because she was married to Black Panther, a king of a country. And prior to that, she had a full-blown relationship with Forge. But also, Storm has around several times with Wolverine. Yeah, I'm not putting it past Storm that she would dive in with a relationship with Scott Summers, even if they had like a one-night stand. But the idea, I don't see it. You know, I don't see it. They just keep them as brothers and sisters. Like, I can't even imagine Scott and Storm kissing in the mouth. That just, nah. Like, it would be more believable for me to see Scott and Rogue than for me to see Scott and Storm. So that would be a no. Oh, hell no. Next up is Polaris. That'll be very, interesting. Polaris is like a wild card. You know, even though Rogue has a very spontaneous personality, Polaris has a very unpredictable personality. That might work. I would actually love to see that relationship play out. I could see them being together. Now, of course, it's a morality situation because Polaris has had a long-standing relationship with Scott Summers' brother, Havoc, Alex Summers. So it's like, will we judge Polaris so harshly if she decides to sleep around with Scott Summers, knowing damn well she has slept around with his brother, younger brother, Alex Summers, for so many decades? You know, to each his own, but I can't say this. You know, Alex slept around with Madeline. Madeline is Scott Summers' ex-wife. Madeline is the mother of Scott Summers' son. And Alex has around with Madeline on multiple occasions. Ain't that but a house. So Polaris providing that same energy with sleeping with Scott Summers, knowing damn well she's been with Havoc Summers. If Alex crossed the line, Lorna can cross the line, in my opinion. But all in all, I think that relationship would work. Lorna clearly has a thing for the Summers family. So I don't think she's going to have a problem falling in love with Scott Summers. I really think that relationship, that's going to be a very interesting relationship. I know the writers will never explore it, but I can see it. I actually can see it. I can see it. Yeah, I can see it. And then the next thing is, would Magneto approve of Lorna around with Scott Summers? But then at the same time, who needs Magneto's approval? So, yeah, that would be a yes. A no for Rogue, a no for Storm, and a yes for Polaris. Next up is Frenzy. Real name is Joanna Cargill. Now, here's the thing. Frenzy and Scott Summers actually had a relationship, but it was in an alternate timeline. It was in the Age of X storyline. And basically, they are seen around, you know. They are madly in love with each other. And Frenzy was hell over heels for Scott Summers, and it was vice versa. Now, when everything went back to normal and they came back to their actual reality, Frenzy was still in love with Scott Summers. And at that time, as I said earlier, Scott Summers was in a full-blown relationship with Emma Frost, and she was not happy about seeing Scott and Frenzy kissing. Would that relationship work? I'm going to say yes. I'm definitely going to say yes, because they explored it in that alternate reality. So I saw Joanna and I saw Scott being in love with each other. So that would have been a very interesting relationship if they was to pursue it. And Scott Summers has a black woman in his life. So I can only imagine how his personality would change being with Joanna opposed to being with Emma Frost. I could see it. I actually can see it. That would have been a very interesting couple. What is up with Scott Summers that got these girls over the hills for him? Because even at the end of the book, Frenzy had a whole crash out episode because Scott's like, yes, I understand that's happened, but the reality is I do not have feelings for you. This bitch is up here throwing a damn pillar because of what Scott said. Like, Joanna, y'all were in an unreal reality, sweetheart. It's done. It's over. But Scott put it on her that bad that she is crashing out. You know what's also crazy? I would have loved for them to follow that up in the Crocera age, but they did not do that because, you know, Scott was back with Jean. But damn, like, Joanna love her some Scott Summers. Scott, what is it about your dick that got these girls riled up? You need to put your other X-Men brothers on game. Put Iceman on game so he can stop around with other men.
That's so gay.
Hello.
Next up is Monet. First of all, this is another black queen. Monet is a bad bitch. Just look at that face card. Damn, girl. Oh, she is fine. She is absolutely fine. Can I imagine Scott Summers getting with Monet? Oh, I done broke the rules because Monet has telepathy. Damn. I just realized that this bitch has so many powers. I'm used to her turning into the penis and I'm used to her having super strength and flight, but I forgot this bitch is a whole ass telepath. Never mind, Monet, I can't even go in on that because you're Scott Summers type because he loves around with telepaths. So he would get with you off the strength that you can read his mind. So I'm sorry. Monet is a yes. I forgot this girl had telepathy. She's so damn powerful. Let's move on. All right, next up is Dazzler. Dazzler is pretty. Dazzler is talented. Dazzler is a blonde. Dazzler has a very fun personality, an outgoing spirit. She is the life of the party, Allison Blair, and she's a bad bitch. Can I imagine Scott Summers being with Dazzler? And she doesn't have telepathy. My answer is yes. I can see Scott Summers getting with Dazzler. That would be a very interesting couple. As a matter of fact, that could have been something that y'all could have explored because I don't like Dazzler's dating history concerning Longshot because in my personal opinion, the writers are always doing Dazzler so damn wrong. And knowing what I know about Dazzler and her relationship with Longshot, it's like, what the fuck? Why did we go here? But that's a topic for a whole nother video. I'm saying all this to say Dazzler, similar to Scott, Dazzler should have been dating other X-Men members. Now, we did see in the OG X-Men, the animated series that came out in 1992, Dazzler was flirting with Scott Summers. Dazzler and Scott went on a date, and Dazzler actually kissed Scott Summers in front of Jean.
I would like to talk to you about your mutant powers.
Tomorrow night, then. It's a date. I knew you'd be back. No!
I can see it. It's going to be a yes for Dazzler and Scott. I can see that pair happening. And, you know, if the writers had any sort of creativity, they could have just, you know, played around with that potential ship between Dazzler and Scott Summers. But we'll never get it, so let's move on. The last person has to be one of the most wishy-washy ass bitches in terms of characterization in X-Men lore. I am talking about the problematic Raven Darkholme, aka Mystique. Can I imagine Scott and Mystique getting together? Absolutely not.
Hey, Jimmy.
Don't talk to me, you slut.
If they was to get together, I strongly believe that it would be a one-night stand because Mystique is a very freaky bitch. She has slept around with damn near everybody. So I can imagine her having sex with Scott Summers, and I can imagine Scott Summers going for that. I can imagine Scott sleeping with Mystique more than I can imagine Scott sleeping with her daughter Rogue, which is very ass backwards, but it is what it is. I can see it. I actually can see it. Now, A relationship? Fuck no. I don't think that Scott Summers can put up with Mystique, and I don't think that Mystique can put up with Scott Summers. But yeah, Mystique is a well-known hoe. I mean, she Iceman, she Ford, she Wolverine on multiple occasions. She's Sabretooth. She's Wolverine's son, Dakin. So I don't put it past her around with Scott Summers. But as far as a full-blown relationship, I don't see it. So yes to a one-night stand, no to a relationship. But we are at the end of this list, and out of the 7 women I've named, I can only see Scott Summers getting with 2 women, and that's Frenzy and Dazzler. But I said all this to say, Scott Summers has a type. And his type, bad bitches who are telepaths. Now, I can't fault him. I cannot fault him because every single girl that Scott Summers has slept with, aside from Psylocke, because that was just a kiss, flirtatious relationship. But every single woman that Scott has gotten with, they are fine as hell. Jean, fine. Madeline, fine. Emma Frost, fine as
All right, let's get back to talking about my outfit.
Nobody was talking about that.
Which is why I'm trying to get that ball rolling. So how does it look? It's good, right?
So I can understand why Cyclops has a kink for psychic women. But I really want to know, for the other women besides Jean, what do y'all see in Scott Summers that got y'all so riled up to get with him? I really want to understand that. Is it because he's the boss of the X-Men? He's one of the best leaders of the X-Men? His aura and his attractiveness stems from that? Is that why these ladies are so in an uproar regarding Scott Summers? What is it that they see about Scott Summers that got them losing their damn minds, especially with Joanna? Like I said, Joanna was having a whole crash out session over Scott Summers. Joanna must have seen how Scott Summers looked in the swimsuit and was like, yeah, I need more of that. We need to make that alternate reality a real reality. Just a freaky ass bitch. Scott, please keep in your pants, for the love of God. But with that being said, we are at the end of this video. I want you guys to comment which X-Men woman would be in a successful relationship with Scott Summers and she cannot be a telepath. Let me know your thoughts. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.